Final Four takes us today to Raleigh, North Carolina for the Duke Blue Devils. Only about a 25-minute ride from Cameron Indoor Stadium. Today it feels more like 3,000 miles from home as they get set to take on Mark Gottfried's Wolfpack from North Carolina State, and we have it for you here on CBS. Hi, everyone. Welcome courtside. Spiro Ditas alongside Greg Anthony. Greg, all the talk about Kentucky, the great start that they've been on, and rightfully so. But you look up, 2 of the 3 remaining undefeated teams in college basketball right here in the ACC, and we've got one today to do.
And it's not just those 2 teams. The ACC this season, I think, is as competitive as any conference in college basketball.
What a start for Duke. Dominated 14-0 today. They look for their first 15-0 start in years, only the 7th time in their storied history. A different dynamic with this team for Mike Krzyzewski. His 3 best players, all freshmen.
Yeah, and you know, all the talk about the one and done in Kentucky. Well, the best trio of freshmen in America reside right here for Duke and Mike Krzyzewski. Jahlil Okafor probably been the most impactful player in the country. Justice Winslow, really in a lot of ways, is the catalyst. He gives them their identity, and then Tyus Jones is just a smooth operator. So those 3 guys provide great balance and chemistry for that vaunted Blue Devil attack.
Meantime, NC State at 11-5. You get the feeling that this team is right on the cusp of that elusive signature win that they've been looking for. And the feeling is if they're going to win today, they need their 2 guards to play well, Trevor Lacey and Ralston Turner, but also how they deal with Jahlil Okafor, Greg, in this Duke front court, and that's the subject of our AT&T Fast Analysis.
It's very important that they figure out a way to disrupt the rhythm of the nation's best post player. When you talk about Jahlil Okafor, take a look at how he sets the defense here, and then because he has such tremendous footwork and that lightning quick first step, able to make the proper move when he goes into attack mode, and he's going to be critical. But also, I think Trevor Lacey has an ability to take and make big shots. He's going to have to do it consistently, as will his backcourt mate and Ralston Turner. These are 2 guys that have tremendous experience and confidence to boot. They're going to have to lead for the Wolfpack.
Boy, the joint is juiced up. We've got Duke, NC State, the starting lineups and the opening tip next on CBS. CBS Sports college basketball coverage is sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Microsoft Surface. And by AT&T, mobilizing your world. Well, for Mike Krzyzewski, the painful memories of that stunning NCAA tournament loss just last March to Mercer in the round of 64 still fresh as he and the Blue Devils come to this building for the first time since then. And right now, Microsoft Surface taking his first on the court. Here is how Krzyzewski's Blue Devils will start. A bit of a change. Matt Jones, the sophomore today, will make his first start of the season. Has been playing very well of late. We know about Winslow and Jahlil Okafor, 2 of their highly touted freshmen. As the Blue Devils at 14-0 take the floor, these are the starters for Mark Gottfried's Wolfpack here from NC State. We talked about Turner and Lacey. Kyle Washington will have the very unenviable task of dealing with Okafor, at least at the start. Mark Gottfried will see how he fares and go from there. Gottfried turning this program around, Greg, here in year 4.
And he's done it everywhere he's been. He's been a successful head coach, and he's done it here with the Wolfpack. This is an opportunity, though, for a signature win at home.
Our officials, Mike Eads, Mike Roberts, and John Gaffney. This place is packed to capacity, just under 19,000, and it is a raucous crowd. And a building that has not presented very happy memories, at least in recent years, for the Duke Blue Devils. Dribble drive by Winslow, and he's turned aside by that interior defense of NC State.
And that's something the Wolfpack has quietly gotten better at as the season has progressed in terms of what they've been able to do defensively, and that's an example of it on that first possession.
This is Anthony Cat Barber, sophomore out of Newport News, Virginia. Around the perimeter now to Ralston Turner. There's Abdul Malik Abu underneath, not noted as a polished interior scorer yet. Quinn Cook to the wreck, Tough scoop with his right hand with contact.
You know, we talked about their freshmen being maybe their most talented players. I think Quinn Cook might be their most important. The senior leader has been so consistent in his ability to move off the ball and provide scoring for the Blue Devils.
Bad pass by Lacey, turned it over. Tyus Jones, Okafor, the trailer. That time showing you a little bit of the repertoire. The feet catches on the run and banks it in.
And that's one of the things that so many people are high on. We know about his ability to score with his back to the basket, but how about the big fella getting out in transition and then being able to avoid the charge?
There's Kyle Washington inside. Abu wide open. Abu, the freshman out of Boston, getting NC State on the board. That's Matt Jones. Okafor on a putback. Hard finish with his right hand.
Really just a complete specimen offensively. I mean, terrific footwork, also great hands to boot.
Okafor, only a freshman, already leads the ACC in scoring. Greg, arguably the most highly touted incoming freshman center that Mike Krzyzewski has ever had.
There's no doubt about it. He's had a few great ones. And the confidence on display by and they're going to get a foul attacking that offensive glass. And you talked about here, just you notice how he is under control there. A lot of bigs don't have that ability to catch it and take a dribble. And then here, just keeping it alive, and then that second jump. Another display of just his overall skill set offensively.
Comes in with such confidence. Okafor 20-plus points in 6 of his last 9 games. Just over 2 minutes gone by. 4-point lead for the Blue Devils. Here's Lacey. They go down low to Washington. Still plenty of time to shoot. Lacey, and that's just too much space for Lacey, who can get hot for the Wolfpack.
He can, and great read there by Lacey. He saw that there was a chance that the double team was going to go on Washington. He just spaced the floor brilliantly there for that jump shot.
Blue Devils trying to answer. Quinn Cook, corner 3. 5-point game.
And that's going to be a key right there, Spiro, how the Blue Devils operate out of those strong side double teams. Great job with the ball movement out of that, and it typically will resort in that corner 3-point opportunity.
So that long streak continuing for Cook, the only senior on this Duke roster. Underneath Abu, excellent unselfish pass by Washington. 3-point game.
And Washington has done a much better job in this game as opposed to Virginia of playing off that post as a facilitator here in the early going.
Tyus Jones, the freshman point guard, keeping it alive. Shot clock resets. Look at Okafor across the paint. Everything but the finish. Rebound pulled by Washington. Here comes Barber, dribbled it off the foot of the defender, and the officials say offensive foul.
And that's an area where Barber's going to have to be a little bit more under control because they're going to need him to attack. But take a look at the interior passing here. Just a great read by Washington. Also a really good goal there by Abu. Those two developing a nice little chemistry playing on the interior for Mark Godfrey.
There's Godfrey. The question for NC State going into the season, how they would replace T.J. Warren, a guy that they relied on so heavily for scoring last season. It's a battle-tested team as they come in at 11-5. Barber setting the table for Lacey. Pulls it away. They'll reset.
You don't replace a T.J. Warren. I mean, that guy as a scorer is as special as they get. But they've been able to kind of redefine who they are as a team. And let me tell you, Lacey has been able to pick up some of that scoring slack for NC State.
Brutal week for Godfrey and NC State as they take on 3 ranked opponents over an 8-day stretch. This is the middle game. Lost at Virginia on Wednesday, led that game in the second half. As they'll take on the Tar Heels on Wednesday.
Yeah, but if you're NC State, you don't look at that. You look at it as an opportunity because you're going to be the underdog in all those games. So if you can somehow get some victories, I thought even in the loss to Virginia, they showed that they can compete with the elites in college basketball.
3 wins against top 75 teams in the RPI, Boise State, Tennessee, and Pitt. But this is the signature win that they have been searching for. 6 to shoot. This is Lacey. Off balance shot. Bails him out.
Barber went to attack there, didn't recognize that mismatch because Lacey had Jones on him, but Lacey stayed patient. And again, we talked about his ability to make tough shots under duress.
Off balance shot. What a finish by the freshman Okafor, pushing it off glass.
You can tell he's playing with a lot of confidence right now. Just tremendous bounce in his post game.
Already a half dozen for Okafor. Duke's lead back to 3. Barber a little bit too nonchalant with the dribble, stolen by Tyus Jones. Inside Cook. Okafor, nasty putback.
And that's why you never assume in transition that your teammates are going to finish. And Okafor with a great job of just rim running there for the putback.
Quick pull-up. Ralston Turner. Exactly the answer that NC State was looking for.
And Turner, like Lacey, has been really consistent all year. I mean, the key in this game really is going to also be the play of Barber. He's going to have to be solid at that point guard position for the Wolfpack.
Turner 5th in the ACC in three-point percentage. Cuts it to 2. Matt Jones has hit some big threes of late. Loose ball foul against Okafor, his first, and we'll get a timeout. 19,000 up out of their seats in a 2-point game on CBS. Oh, something about this arena here in Raleigh that has presented all kinds of issues for Mike Krzyzewski's Blue Devils. We mentioned their first trip here since that stunning round of 64 loss in this arena to Mercer, Greg, last March.
Yeah, they've had their struggles, particularly with the Wolfpack. And look, part of it is it's an in-state rival. So that in and of itself creates a dynamic of competitiveness. And you can see Joel Okafor is really carrying the mantle here early on for Duke. But this environment, man, factor in, too, that as good as Duke's talent is, this is still a very young team. Only their 3rd conference game and a true road game to boot. And they had a difficult time with Wake Forest earlier in conference play, and you shouldn't expect anything less here from the Wolfpack.
And you go back just a couple of years ago, Duke was in this building in almost exactly similar circumstances. They came looking for a 15-game winning streak. And it was NC State, this team coached by Mark Godfrey, that knocked them off here. And looking to continue that trend here this afternoon. Lacey, boy, he's got a hot hand, and when he has been hot, this NC State team has been dangerous.
And, you know, he didn't finish the Virginia game well, but he got off to a good start. But that was a road game, and that's one reason why I think Matt Jones is starting in this game for Duke. And you see Suleiman able to get that jump shot to go. This little runner there off the glass. But, you know, you need another perimeter defender against NC State because they are so dynamic outside with he and Turner.
Matt Jones making the start. If you've just joined us, Emil Jefferson coming off the bench today. Jefferson in now for the first time. Also Marshall Plumlee on the floor. Abu getting a little bit comfortable at the start, and a loose ball foul against the NC State big man.
In this last possession for Lacey, this is not bad defense, but again, Lacey able to just create enough space to be able to shoot that shot in rhythm. And you know, when you're hitting shots like that early, that confidence level rises for you individually, but I think also for the team collectively.
Lacey has been their best player, but has struggled in 2 of the last 3 games. Greg mentioned the start that he had the other night, but then cooled off. Rashid Suleiman coming in and getting right to work.
I'll tell you what, they're using Suleiman much like you'd use a guy in the NBA, and there's a miscommunication on the inbounds there between Abu and Lacey, leading to the turnover.
Suleiman had come in with a hot hand, especially from deep. 7 of 10 from 3 for Suleiman over his last 4 games. Here's Winslow. Still 15 to shoot. This is Cook, their lone senior. One-on-one against Turner. 5 to shoot. Inside, Winslow wide open. What vision by Cook.
Yeah, how about the vision there? Really not a great possession by Duke, but Quinn Cook able to make something out of nothing. They're very patient on that, and then a great read as you see Winslow come in. That's 2 of this 6-0 run by the Blue Devils. Welcome back. Keep an eye right here on Justice Winslow, and also watch how you get a loss here by Martin of where he is. He's not having a position where he's got eye contact. That allows him to sneak in on that backdoor cut. A great read by Quinn Cook there. Just take a look from the top. Again, he loses sight of his man, and that's just a great read offensively, having an understanding when your guy has lost sight of where you are on the offensive end.
Yeah, whatever issues Duke had early on, as B.J. Anya can't handle the pass, it's last touched by Plumlee. Duke has figured it out, Greg, offensively, as Mike Krzyzewski's team has hit 5 of its last 6 shots.
And some of it is because of what they're able to do defensively. You see them extending their pressure a little bit. Remember, when they don't have Barb out there, Lacey can handle the point guard position, but that's not a natural position for him. How about the finish by the big fella?
B.J. Anya, who is a mountain of a man. He's dropped about 46 pounds since the offseason. Mark Godfrey saying he still wants him to trim a little bit more, but a good start.
Yeah, what did he say? The good news is that BJ's lost 50 pounds. The bad news is he's probably got another 25 or 30 to go, but he is definitely heading in the right direction.
Had a chance to visit with their strength and conditioning coach, Bob Alejo, who has had a long and successful career both at the collegiate level and professionally in Major League Baseball. Anya has been his personal project as Duke continues to heat up. Second 3 for the senior Cook.
I'll tell you what, Suleiman has come in against that zone, able to get into the teeth of the defense, and then a terrific read there on the kick out for the triple.
Here's Lacey, if you've just joined us, 7 points, has hit all 3 of his shots. This is Anya, and a reaching foul charge to Plumlee.
And this is one of the things that you like about Anya, even though he's still got the weight issues. How about that footwork there, a la Jahlil Okafor with the finish there, and then just a good read, sucking that defense in, and then Quinn Cook just continues to be as consistent as anybody from beyond.
Greg, forget about the weight loss. That's impressive. He has a wingspan of 7 feet 9 inches. That's the longest recorded wingspan for a non-7-foot player that there is in the NBA Draft Express database, which keeps that measurable for these basketball players, and that is incredible. This is Ralston Turner, little head fake to draw contact against the freshman Winslow, and Turner will shoot 2. I'll get the fastest scores and updates for Duke, NC State, and all teams with the CBS Sports app. It's the fastest app for sports fans. Download the CBS Sports app right now. PNC Arena, Spiro Ditas, Greg Anthony, our producer Mark Wolf, Bob Fishman is our director. Duke and NC State, who for so many years faced each other 2 times this season. Now, of course, the changing landscape in college basketball. Unfortunately, we'll see each other for the most part just 1 time a year. And I don't think Mike Krzyzewski will be unhappy with having to come here a little bit less.
Definitely not a place that has been kind to the Blue Devils.
Duke at 14-0, looking for a 15-0 start for the 7th time in history. Suleiman turned back by Anya. 9th leading shot blocker in the country. Lacey, that's another 3.
And that possession there, you had just a little too much penetration by Suleiman, and the big fella Anya able to send it back to him.
Here's Suleiman. He is red hot. Suleiman is cooking 3 buckets in less than 5 minutes off the bench.
He has come in with instant offense. It really has given this second unit some balance. And Coach K talked about it. He's starting to play some of his best basketball. You got to go back to his freshman year when he was having such a huge impact, and Anya unable to convert on that offensive putback.
Suleiman came in, the highly touted freshman. As Winslow sets up for the 3, a little bit too strong. Rebound by Lacey. Here's Desmond Lee trying to thread the needle to Leonard Freeman running down the paint. Ball was kicked, and NC State will inbound.
Suleiman has really just come in very aggressive, not only to shoot it from beyond, but just to force the issue offensively. That is a really positive sign for the upperclassmen for the Blue Devils.
Suleiman came in, was a budding star, a freshman on that Elite 8 team 2 years ago, and then last year, a very disappointing season. Has kind of reinvented his game. And it's been very, very good for Mike Krzyzewski coming off the bench. Here's Tyus Jones. Winslow thought about the three. Across the paint, contact, and he will shoot free throws. You look at these freshmen play, Greg, and all of them are fearless.
They are, but they also don't force it. You know, you haven't seen, in this game, it hadn't really happened yet for Winslow, and he's been patient about that. It's been a good rhythm and start for Okafor, though.
So here's Winslow, 63% free throw shooter. Comes in off a season-high 20-point performance in their victory earlier this week against Wake Forest. Well, the world's greatest detectives are back together in New York, and there's never been a better time to get on their case. Johnny Lee Miller is Sherlock Holmes in a new Elementary. Thursday, 10/9 Central, only CBS. Southpaw Winslow pushes Duke's lead to 6. Blue Devils, second-ranked team in the country, second straight ACC road game for Mike Krzyzewski's crew. Tough dribble drive, unable to finish is Lee. And a foul against Duke underneath. B.J. Anya making his presence felt, Greg, early on.
Been very aggressive on that offensive glass there as Winslow picks up the foul. And that's something as a big, whenever you get the dribble penetration by your guards, you want to be able to attack that offensive glass. Winslow there with his second foul. And I think they're going to bring Jefferson back in the game.
Looks like some confusion on that Duke sideline.
Well, they weren't sure if the substitution could be made at that point.
Officials talking about it. Mike Eads, Mike Roberts, and John Gaffney are officiating crew.
They're going to allow that substitution now to take place.
Emil Jefferson will come in, so Winslow sits with 2 personals. Jefferson, the junior out of Philadelphia. One of their better offensive rebounders. Shot clock resetting to 35 seconds. Barber looking back towards Godfrey for the play call with NC State down 6.
NC State has an opportunity to get post up against some of the smaller guards for Duke, but just not able to do a good job of handling the pressure.
Barber nearly coughed it up. Lacey is there with 13 to shoot. Anya calling for it. Wants to take Okafor. Anya, little shimmy shake. Unable to bank it in with the left hand. Jefferson pulls for Duke. Okafor unable to corral the pass. Tough one thrown by his fellow rookie freshman Tyus Jones as Duke turns it over, up 6 in Raleigh. 6-point lead for second-ranked Duke. As we take a look at our game summary with 7:57 to play before halftime, Jahlil Okafor picking up where he's left off and came in red hot. 4 of 5 so far.
And what's most impressive is a lot of what he's done is based on the energy level that he's brought, attacking the offensive glass, running the floor, you know, not assuming that other guys are going to make plays. He's been out there as the aggressor. And that's one reason why Duke here with a 6-point lead.
Nation's top scoring freshman for many of the experts. He's the best, has been the best overall player in college till this point. Trevor Lacey, you see his season numbers, already 2 threes today. And that was the talk here, that if they were going to win this game, Lacey had to have a huge day.
Well, he's got to have a big day, but Barber's got to play well. And I'm not talking necessarily statistically, but he's got to do a better job of initiating offense. The 4 turnovers they've had have led to 6 points. That's been the difference in the game here. And you know, I don't like that call because I thought the shot was blocked prior to him taking it to the glass, which should negate right there. See, that shot was blocked.
Bad call. And that's the argument from Duke's bench at this point.
Yeah, that shot was blocked by Okafor. Very fortunate for the Wolfpack to get that deuce.
Blue Devils one of 3 remaining undefeated teams in the country. 2 of them residing in the ACC with Virginia. Runner that time off target by Jones. NC State Really coughed it up right back. Barber to Turner for three. Rebound Jefferson.
This place would have exploded had that three went down.
Contact. What a play by the freshman Jones, feeling the pressure coming, earning a trip to the free throw line. It's on Barber, that's his second, and here are the three teams that are still perfect at this point. Kentucky needing double overtime yesterday to win in College Station.
How about the last two games needing double overtime for the #1 team to pull off victories? And you mentioned this Duke squad. I tell you, Virginia, every bit as impressive as anybody in the country right now. What they were able to do going down and beating Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is good. I tell you, we talked about at the top, the ACC, they have some heavy hitters.
Cody Martin has checked into the game for Mark Godfrey. As Jones, the freshman, hits on the second. And that bumps Duke's lead to 6. There's Martin, twin brothers on this NC State side. Cody and Caleb. And Cody has played better. He's seen a little bit of a minutes increase over the last couple of games for Godfrey. Lacey trying to fend off Suleiman.
And the other thing that happens when you have to go with Lacey at the point, it takes away some of his aggression to score the basketball. Nice high-low action there, but unable to finish was Abu.
Under 7 minutes to play before halftime. Duke with possession and a 6-point lead. Okafor quickly doubled, struggled a little bit with double teams in that win against Wake Forest on Wednesday. NC State doesn't like to double the post a lot, Greg, excuse me, but Mark Godfrey doing it so far today.
And what they're doing is trying to show, you see that pivot foot picked up. What they're trying to do is mix up when they come and not give him a steady dose of something he can get a rhythm from. That was a good utilization of it there to force the turnover.
Lacey like a pinball coming right down the paint. He has hurt Duke from the outside, a couple of threes. And that time showing his strength, going right to the rack. He'll shoot 2. First personal on Suleiman.
And you talked about strength. That's a great description of Lacey. He is a big physical guard with a tremendous touch from the perimeter, but he's also a guy that will attack you and utilize that size to get to the free throw line.
74% free throw shooter. Lacey, a redshirt junior, has that Alabama connection with Mark Godfrey, of course, who played and coached at Alabama.
And also Ralston Turner as well, with a combination. Played against Lacey on the AAU circuit, and they're missing both free throws was Lacey.
This is Cook. Okafor quickly doubled. They leave Jones for the corner 3. Battle for the rebound, last touched by NC State, and now they'll change the call and give it to the Wolfpack.
Yeah, fortunate there on that possession. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, that was off of Jefferson there. Good job correcting the call, but that time, though, a good job of attacking that double team. The Blue Devils, they just unable to convert there from Cook in that corner 3.
Greg, what have you seen so far at the 6-minute mark of the first half in terms of NC State handling this kind of moment against Duke?
Well, they're fine. They've had some struggles in terms of execution. The turnovers are a bit of an issue.
Martin gets it back and puts it down. Not exactly the way they drew it up, but they'll take the deuce.
That was almost on cue with another turnover, but very fortunate was Martin to come up with that loose ball and put back.
Jefferson. Into the corner, Jones, down low to Okafor. Okafor against Anya. Whistle blown. Call against Duke. 3-second violation. As Mike Krzyzewski's Blue Devils turn it over again.
Yeah, but that's an example there where I think Okafor, instead of bringing it out, just reset it and repost that way, because now once they've rotated, they may not be in a position to rotate again, and Anya getting a huge applause from the crowd. Terrific energy off the bench.
Now, one thing about Anya with the fluctuation of weight, the issue with him has always been conditioning. Last year couldn't play more than a couple of minutes before he was completely fatigued. But that's been an area he's improved on slowly as the weight continues to come off. Under 5 minutes left before halftime. This is Washington. Doubled up inside Martin. Touch pass. Abu. Hard finish.
And remember now, no Okafor. Great job with that interior passing by the Wolfpack.
Welcome back. And what happens when you get a double team? It creates a 2-on-1 opportunity right here between the Wolfpack on that weak side. And watch how you get that rotation up from Tyus Jones. A nice touch pass. Tyus Jones just too small to have to be responsible for two bigs on that possession. And great recognition there by the Wolfpack to convert the deuce.
If you've just joined us, Duke, no field goals in 5+ minutes. And the first big coaching adjustment in this game has been the double teaming of Jahlil Okafor. Washington turning him back on the interior. But Greg, they have neutralized Okafor with the double, and so far Duke trying to figure that out.
And ever since that quick start by Okafor, he has yet to score since. So that's the adjustment now. The chess match has begun for Coach Krzyzewski.
Washington powers up, stuffs it down, and we are tied at 29.
And this is all about discipline right now for NC State, recognizing they are a far bigger and more athletic team right now than what Duke has on the floor, and not settling on the perimeter. There, the turnover on Jefferson.
Duke clearly rattled, 6 straight for NC State. Jefferson turns it over, all tied on CBS. 6 straight points for NC State. They have tied it at 29.
Yeah, take a look here. Just a quick little UCLA cut, and it's going to force Plumlee to have to come double. Now, the key is that if you're Matt Jones, you've got to recognize that. You got to sink and feel. He does not get there in time. That's one of the concerns if you're Mike Krzyzewski. When you don't have Okafor out there, they become very small on the interior. And I like the discipline by NC State to recognize that and handle the pressure and attack the paint.
And Greg, that a bit of a surprise. A lot of talk about NC State not getting nearly enough from their bigs. Tonight their guards have attacked. They've gotten to the basket, and you see the points in the paint at the 4-minute mark of the first half.
But they've done a good job of dissecting the defense and not settling for perimeter.
Here's Malik Abu outside Washington. Not a voted three-pointer. Why not? His 4th three-pointer of the season. NC State has hit 4 straight shots.
And that's an example there. Even though Abu doesn't score, anytime that ball touches the paint, it forces the defense to sink to that level. And then just a great read on that kick out for the triple.
First lead for NC State, 9 straight. Senior Cook unable to answer, and the basketball going back to the Wolfpack.
And a lot of times, whenever that ball goes down, you see how Winslow had to sink just a little bit on that possession. And look at the young man. He is fired up here. Kyle Washington has really given them a really nice boost. He's gotten better, I think, as the season's progressed. And really, I think, could be an X factor for them moving forward.
NC State in the bonus. 1-on-1 situation for Abdul Malik Abu, who has had a surprisingly good first half offensively for Mark Godfrey. Only a 50% free throw shooter. Washington kept it alive to Martin. Lacey thought about it as we hit the 3-minute mark before halftime. First time NC State has led. You see the run stretching over nearly 3 minutes. Washington, long 2, buries another one. 11 straight for NC State.
And now if you're Mike Krzyzewski, you got to figure out a way to get Okafor involved offensively.
Contact, blocking foul, say the officials. It's on Martin.
Right now, Washington playing with a lot of confidence, faces up, and creates just enough space to get that mid-range there. How about 7 points already above his season average here
in the first half. And that was an example there, a great read by Winslow. That double team, you know it's coming. Just a quick, hard cut and a nice delivery there by Okafor.
Washington has scored the last 7 points for NC State. Okafor, again, dealing with the double team. Blue Devils.
Duke's not doing a good job of spacing out of that double team.
Matt Jones off target. Okafor, offensive rebound, contact. Doesn't get the friendly roll, but he will step to the line.
He is so
and shoot
strong.
two.
Sorry, part but he is really strong and just unbelievably good hands. Look at that, just able to go up and corral it with that left, taking the contact, just unable to convert there, but that just getting to the line gives him an opportunity to get back into sync here in this first half.
See Okafor start. Hasn't scored since that double teaming started to come from the Wolfpack. 57% free throw shooter. Hits on the first. Reminder coming up on the AT&T at the half. James Brown, Seth Davis, and Doug Gottlieb will get you caught up on what's going on today, and they'll also have some opinions on the trending topics in college basketball. It's all coming up on AT&T at the half. And that is what Okafor is staring at. Greg, you watch him play. He's not freakishly athletic. Doesn't jump through the gym, but he's so sound and he's so polished.
Well,
what a start for the freshman.
And what he has makes up for athleticism. When you have the kind of footwork and the hands he has, that makes you even more athletic, even though he doesn't possess that ability to play well above the rim. He has a terrific feel for the game.
A 28-point performance last weekend against Boston College. As Tyus Jones unable to convert on the three, and then last touched by Jefferson. No field goals for Duke in over 8 minutes. They have missed 7 straight shots.
And I think if you're Coach K, you're going to have to look at some pick and rolls with Okafor to get him a little more involved. That really makes it a little more difficult for NC State to set their defense and double him, and he's a terrific pick and roll player in the half court.
Well, we said it earlier, something about this building that seems to haunt Duke. Abu unable to hit the little chippy underneath, and the rebound by Jones. What a pass! Suleiman ahead of the field.
That was a terrific find, and really just a mistake there by Cody Martin to go for that, what I call the phantom steal, because once you miss it, that opened up the attack lane for Suleiman.
9 points off the bench from Suleiman. Lacey.
That's a big-time shot by Lacey there.
Suleiman, that was partially deflected. Washington keeps it in play. 13 for Lacey. Mark Gottfried wants a timeout as Lacey hits on his third three of the first half. Trevor Lacey, 13 points, 5 of 7 from the field, has hit 3 threes in this first half.
He's just a big-time talent. And, you know, the one thing about Duke, as good as they are defensively as a unit, I think Lacey's got the size and athleticism along with that shooting stroke to be able to create his own shot, and you can tell he's feeling it right now. And he's done a good job, too, moving over to the point. Even though he plays a lot, Barber hasn't been as effective. And in the half court, they've been really good with this bigger lineup.
NC State in the bonus. Washington. That's what to call the old heat check from Washington. Last touch out of bounds. Looked like Okafor may have tweaked an ankle. 27.8 seconds left before halftime. Grayson Allen, another freshman for Mike Krzyzewski, will check in for the first time. Jacksonville native.
And if you're Duke right now, you got to think you want the last possession of this half.
Duke, one of 3 remaining undefeated teams, getting all they can handle from their in-state rivals here in Raleigh. 10 seconds. Suleiman against Martin. Down to 5. Suleiman crosses over, running floater. Back rim, no. Rebound, Abu. as that takes us to halftime here in Raleigh. Duke missing 9 of its final 10 shots, just 1 bucket over the final 9 minutes and 46 seconds, and they are down at halftime for the first time this season. That's the end of the first half with NC State up on Duke 37-33. We go to New York and James Brown.
Thanks, Spiro. Coming up on AT&T at the half, Seth Davis and Doug Gottlieb join me with scores and highlights plus court of opinion after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports presents AT&T at the half. AT&T, mobilizing your world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to AT&T at the half. I'm James Brown with the score in Raleigh, 37-33. NC State leading. First time the Duke has trailed at the half. I'm joined by Seth Davis, along with Doug Gottlieb. Your thoughts on the first half?
Well, I think that Duke's guards a little bit small for NC State's guards. So they thought that Trevor Lacey could attack in one-on-one ISO situations. But really, if you look at the run, the 14-4 run that NC State went on to end the half, it was kind of all Kyle Washington. He gets double-teamed, finds the open man. Duke has to double-team in the low post, and then Washington with the block shot starts the transition, and Washington on the weak side. This apparently appears to be a Kyle Washington highlight film. Then he actually got Jahlil Okafor on him. Okafor sprained his ankle a little bit in the first half. You got a center on a face-up 4, take him outside, and do your business. I was really impressed with NC State cutting down on their turnovers, finding the mismatches, and using their size advantage on the Duke guards and causing the double team in low post allowed them to have the first half lead.
A lot of that obviously spurred by NC State's defense, and frankly, I'm surprised that Duke is so flummoxed that Jahlil Okafor is being double-teamed in the post. This is what they saw at Wake Forest, and this is what they're going to be seeing the rest of the season. If you take the 31 minutes he played at Wake Forest and 15 in the first half, he's got 0 assists, only 19 assists on the season. They're going to have to exploit his passing ability more moving forward, because every single team is going to double-team Jahlil Okafor in the post. Spoiler alert.
There's 2 things to do in the second half. One, obviously, put Suleiman on the weak side. He was able to exploit that, get some jump shots in the first half. Secondly, Okafor needs to either, 1, repost, that means throw it out, then reestablish position, throw it inside, and go to work, or, like he did early in the first half, play off the second shot. When you get it double team, let somebody else shoot it, then go get the basketball.
You got to move, you got to get open.
Duke is a different team when he's not effective. They have no interior offense. They really have no depth in there.
On my NFL show, don't get to hear words like flummox very often. All right, folks.
CBS Sports presents AT&T at the half. AT&T, mobilizing your world.
CBS Sports college basketball coverage is sponsored by Sonic's new Lil Doggies. AT&T, mobilizing your world. And by Buick, 5 expectation-shattering models, another reason to experience the new Buick. Well, we expected second-ranked Duke to be challenged today. That's exactly what we have as Duke trails at halftime for the first time this season. Spiro Dedes, Greg Anthony with you. A couple of adjustments by Mark Gottfried really factoring into that first half.
Yeah, I thought his decision to go more with Lacey at the point guard really solidified their offense and allowed them to attack on the inside. You heard Seth and Doug talking about that. But secondly, I thought what he was able to do defensively to Okafor after his quick start.
All right, let's take a look at the first half stats. Brought to you by Lexus. Duke started the shooting very, very well, and then the double team that Greg mentioned on Okafor really kind of turned the landscape of that first half.
It allowed them, their offense allowed their defense to have more of an impact, NC State. And then when the double team came, you can see that the spacing wasn't great for NC State. And then also just the timing and the rhythm offensively of Duke was struggling there. Give Godfrey a lot of credit for those adjustments. Let's see what Coach K can do now in this second half to get Okafor going.
Greg mentioned some of the jittery turnovers early on in that first half. They did not turn it over to the Wolfpack over the final 12 minutes and 27 seconds of that first half. NC State 11-5. Kyle Washington scored 7 straight points at one point in the first half, that time of force.
And he also had 3 assists of the 10 that NC State had. So the ball movement and the offensive execution in the half court was really solid after that first 5 or 6 minute stretch of the game.
NC State in the middle of this very brutal stretch. 3 ranked opponents over 8 days as Jefferson turned back. Abu and Washington making a wall of defense for the Wolfpack.
How about that rotation over by Washington there? And that's a situation where if you're Jefferson, you got to read that play. He's got Okafor there for a little dump off if he can be able to make that play in traffic.
One tweak by Mike Krzyzewski started Matt Jones today, the sophomore from DeSoto, Texas. But Jones on the bench to start the second half. Emil Jefferson on the floor. Little scoop by Cook. Rolls off. Okafor underneath to Jefferson, and he will shoot. Reach and foul charge to Lacey.
Let's keep an eye on Jahlil Okafor, too, because right at the end of that half, watch that right ankle, the left ankle there, I'm sorry, gets rolled over by Barden there, and he was laboring just a little bit. Didn't seem to affect him, though, on that possession there as he attacked the offensive glass.
Jefferson, just a 57% free throw shooter. Junior out of Philadelphia. One of their better offensive rebounders. Last season forced to play out of position for much of the year in a post. This year back to his more comfortable role, a little bit inside, a little bit outside. And a lot to think about for that young man as he stares at some of the distractions behind the basket. So Betty White.
Was that Betty White there?
You don't usually see Betty White behind
I
the
haven't
basket.
seen her at a basketball game in a while.
2-point game at NC State with a minute gone by in the second half. Washington. Where did this offense come from Kyle Washington? He's got 9.
It's not just him, though. It's also the high-low action that NC State's getting with their bigs. Abu there with a nice post entry that allowed him to attack before the defense could get set.
Okafor continuing to be relentlessly double-teamed. Here's Winslow. Quiet first half, dealt with some foul trouble. And Duke has gone stone cold from the field.
A better job there, though, of setting that zone, that double team, and at least getting a good look. But I'm waiting to see a little more pick and roll action with Okafor to combat that double team on the block.
Blue Devils just 3 of 13 from deep. Washington feeling it underneath. Rebound pulled by Okafor. Freshman thought he was fouled. And he's hearing it from 19,000. It is a raucous student section here. Winslow into the corner for Cook. Lone senior. Tyus Jones, backdoor, a thing of beauty from the freshman.
And a good job there. First, Cook with that penetration to force the help allows Jones that angle to attack there. And because the defense is so set to go and defend Okafor, there are going to be opportunities to attack for the Blue Devil guards.
Cat Barber a little bit shaky so far today. Lacey. And here comes Cook.
And you made the point. Barber has really struggled at the point here tonight.
Okafor trying to go glass. Washington clears. Told you earlier, for Duke, their first appearance in this building since that stunning round of 64 loss to Mercer in the NCAA tournament last March. 14-0 coming in. Turner burying a 3.
And you know who that play was equally as important for was Cat Barber. Just the fact that he was able to execute that half court. Good job of screening on that baseline, allowing Turner to come off for that catch and shoot. Sometimes as a point guard, you get confidence by just making a simple play here. Good job with the screen. You see Cook comes off late, and that size advantage Turner has at that off-guard position. Butter.
And they are having a good old time on that bench. NC State 6 of 10 from distance. Jefferson pushed out by Washington. This is Winslow. Okafor spins away from the double. Washington swats him from the back. Battle for the loose ball, and they say that Duke got the timeout. Heady play by Jefferson.
Just really no room to operate for Okafor, and Washington, great timing there with the block shot. He has been doing it on both his
great game here in Raleigh.
Coming up next, the NFL on CBS brings you playoff action as Andrew Luck leads the Indianapolis Colts into Denver to take on Peyton Manning and the Broncos in the AFC Divisional Playoff. The fun starts with JB, Tony, Bart, Coach, and Boomer on a postseason edition of the NFL Today presented by Southwest Airlines. We're in Raleigh, 5-point lead for NC State. A 25-mile drive. The only thing that separates these two programs, Emil Jefferson beautifully set up for the easy dunk.
And that's the adjustment. You saw it right there. Coach K comes out of timeout. They go pick and roll with Okafor. And then just coming off that pick and roll, the right read there, Jefferson able to get that deuce just to try to loosen that defense up of NC State.
This is Barber, blocked by Okafor. Freshman into the open floor. Cook from deep. And a whistle blown here against NC State. CBS Sports coverage of NCAA men's basketball continues after this message and a word from your local station. Let's get you our AT&T fast analysis. Some very crafty interior passing by the Wolfpack.
And that's really been the difference. They've done a good job of that half-court execution. And Kyle Washington, how about 3 assists in that first half? Doing a really good job of attacking the Blue Devils on that weak side. Not a team noted for their shot blocking ability. Only one thus far in this game.
Winslow's pass deflected, then fights against Turner for it. Winslow up to the rack. What a finish! Magical finish by Winslow, and the freshman to the line with a chance at a three-point play.
And how about the effort there by Winslow? First to win that battle for the loose ball here. Just clears out a little space, and then immediately back mode. Great finish there in the contact. That's a big-time play there. Let's see if that gets him going. He has been pretty quiet here today, as has Winslow.
Only his second field goal. Three-point play to tie the game at 42. Already 14 fouls against NC State. Spiro Ditas, Greg Anthony, our producer Mark Wolf, Bob Fishman, our director, rest of our CBS crew from Raleigh. Trevor Lacey on the attack, and contact against the senior Cook.
And NC State's just patience. They've shown the ability now to hurt Duke on that interior, and Lacey's got a matchup that he feels like he can exploit with either Cook or Jones guarding him on the perimeter.
There's Ralston Turner. Steps back, shoots a 3 and sticks it.
And the breakdown defensively there by Duke, having Okafor on Ralston, as Okafor able to get right back down and get that bucket. And that's another area where you can have success. Early offense, get out and transition before NC State's defense can get set.
Greg, they've dealt with adversity so well. They struggled a little bit at Wake Forest on Wednesday. As Turner buries another 3. Points for the 5th-year senior Turner. Okafor trying to deal with the interior defense as we go back to the back-to-back triples from Turner.
And it's about that time just recognizing the mismatch with Okafor out on the perimeter. Then just a good job of the misdirection on that screen by Abu, and a nice delivery by Barber there on the pass. Again, just sometimes those are plays that can get Barber going offensively, making good decisions on the floor, and Ralston lights out those last 2 triples.
Abu has to sit, third personal. Winslow, contact, no call. Here comes Turner. Turner has scored 9 straight for State. Sets the table for Lacey. Dribble drive. Pass underneath for Freeman. Lacey gets it back, pulls up. And the weak side clear by Jefferson. Suleiman into the game, deflected off of his leg, and back to State.
Suleiman felt like that should have gone off NC State, but maybe just a little bit out of control there on that attack. Let's see.
Tell you what, that's a tough call. That's I gotta say maybe the right call on that one.
Greg, I was just going to say earlier, you forget with Duke in the midst of this 14-0 start to the season that this is a group made up for the most part, at least at its core, of freshmen. Struggled a little bit the other night, had the big road win at Wisconsin. Just fascinating to see them deal with this kind of adversity away from home.
And that's a great point you make about having those true road games. Once you get into conference play, and Winslow, I think, just picked up his third foul there. You're going into these hostile environments where you're playing against longtime rivals. And when you're a freshman, you haven't had that experience. And even though the coaching staff and your teammates can talk to you about it, until you actually go through it. And how about Barber? We talked about it. Those passes, I thought, got his confidence back. Much more under control on that possession. They're able to get to the rim unabated.
First points for the sophomore out of Newport News, Virginia. Winslow staying on the floor with 3 fouls. Here's Okafor. Where does the freshman go here? 13 to shoot. Inside, swatted, but a foul. Okafor never panicking. Drawing contact with Duke down 6.
He is a guy that won't panic, but right now, Duke is searching offensively to find anything in terms of rhythm. They seem just a little disjointed, and credit NC State for being so disruptive and aggressive on the defensive end.
You see Okafor's numbers. Tonight on 60 Minutes, the booming business of legal marijuana, plus what you need to know about Obamacare. Tonight on 60 Minutes, only CBS.
And partner, this is one of the more underrated environments for college basketball. PNC Arena is rocking here today.
Just under 19,000 on a cold, crisp winter's day here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Duke making the 25-minute drive from Durham. Well, boy, they feel like they're a long way from Cameron Indoor Stadium here this afternoon.
And then again, I go back to the start. NC State struggled offensively, 4 quick turnovers, but they have done a terrific job since then of taking care of the ball and getting shots.
Off-balance shot from Turner. Here comes Jones for the trailer Winslow. Too strong off glass. And the basketball goes back to NC State.
Good hustle there. Winslow did a great job of avoiding the charge there, but unable to convert on that opportunity.
Mike Krzyzewski trusting the freshman Winslow, leaving him in the game with 3 personals.
And listen, this is a very dangerous stretch of this game right now. And Winslow is one of his better perimeter defenders.
Turner. Okafor clears. His 8th rebound. Suleiman against Lacey, resets. Duke at 14-0, second-ranked team in the country. Getting pushed to the limit by the Wolfpack. Winslow from deep. That's good.
That's a big-time shot there by Winslow. Mike Krzyzewski said something interesting before the game. He said his guys have to understand that they can't always just rely on Jahlil Okafor because he's such a special talent. They have to figure out other ways to have an impact offensively. That was a great example of it there on that possession. Okafor did not touch the ball.
Lacey right in the face of the defender, Cook.
You see Jahlil Cook just threw his arms up. Like, what can you do? The guy's big, strong, and has terrific rhythm from beyond the arc.
Lacey is cooking from deep. 4 of 6 from downtown on the afternoon. Okafor, what a find. Winslow swatted by Anya.
Up and ground, and Anya can cover on that strong side double, then rotates over to come up with that block shot.
Shot clock didn't reset. Suleiman, offensive foul. What defense by Cat Barber. CBS Sports college basketball coverage is sponsored by the new Taco Bell app. Millions of combinations. What will you make? The Quicksilver card from Capital One. and by Bud Light, who reminds fans to stay in the game and drink responsibly. One of the big stories of this game has been the interior defense from the Wolfpack.
Well, we're having a block party here in Raleigh, and the Duke Blue Devils have been invited because it's been physical, and they have been tough-minded and attacking the offense of the Blue Devils. And that, along with the fact that NC State has done a terrific job of taking care of the basketball. How about that? Only trailed for just over 11 minutes the entire season and already finding themselves in a bit of adversity. And I was going to make the point, it's not just about those blocks. The reason their defense has been so good, how about only 4 turnovers on the day? They had 4 turnovers about 7 minutes into the game. They haven't had one since. And what that does is it allows you to set your defense. And NC State, with that size and physicality at both the guard and the front line position, really imposing their will here on the Blue Devils.
B.J. Anya showing a polished low post game to extend the lead to 7. The one thing Mark Gottfried has talked about, we know about Lacey and Turner, experienced guys, 4th and 5th year players. They're young in other areas. Can they step up and close the door on a second-ranked team here at Duke? Contact from Suleiman, another whistle against the junior. That's his 3rd personal.
And one of the things about it here, you always want to go at and attack the best offensive player on the opposing team, and Anya able to get that finish here. And then good job of acting there by Barber to sell it, but there definitely was contact. And remember, Suleiman, one of the few guys that's shown an ability to create his own offense here thus far.
Largest deficit, as you saw, that Duke has faced all season. First time they trailed in a game at halftime, as they are getting all they can handle from NC State. Cat Barber trying to fend off Cook. Still 16 to shoot. Barber changed his mind. What a decision. Anya, who's fouled from the back. And if it's against Winslow, that is number 4.
I think it is. And just a great read there by Barber, and then Anya going strong. I think they get Emil Jefferson, on that foul. But really good decision there. Even though Barber has not looked real confident, that was at least a solid play to get it to the big fella.
Tuesday on CBS. It's a new year in New Orleans, and the good times are rolling. Don't miss TV's #1 news show, NCIS New Orleans. New episode Tuesday, 9, 8 Central, only CBS. How does this young Duke team that has been so good, perfect till this point, 14-0, second-ranked team in the country, how do they deal with this kind of adversity in this building against a raucous crowd here in Raleigh?
And that's what we're going to find out. Let's see if they can stay disciplined. And I think that's one way, is to really start trying to feature Winslow offensively. This is a guy physically as gifted as anybody on that wing, and he can post you and make shots. I think he's got to have an impact. And then defensively, they've got to defend the paint far better than they've done thus far.
Well, such a great sports weekend. Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning will do battle next as the NFL's divisional round continues, as they will kick off just after 4:30 Eastern time right here on CBS. Winslow misses the front end. The freshman staying in the game, playing through foul trouble. He's got 3. And you see NC State, Greg just hit on it a moment ago, incredible, taking care of the basketball since the early turnover issues. Martin takes it back. Aaron pass. They turn it over. Jones setting the table. Okafor blocked by Martin, but a blocking foul.
And as soon as we talk about it, there have been other possessions. I think they're in the 1-and-1 is Duke, but although he'll get 2 shots here. They've had some loose possessions, but they've won that loose ball battle. That time, they didn't come up with it, and Duke able to get out in transition.
Greg, you look at Duke, 5th in the country in scoring at better than 84 points per game, but this has been as confused as they've looked at that end of the floor this season, and give all the credit to this defense from Mark Gottfried at NC State.
And you hit it right on the head. And listen, they've done this to a lot of good teams. Virginia struggled to make shots against them, held them to 61. And Virginia's not a team that's going to run out and get 90, but they've made them play under duress on the road. So when they take care of the basketball,
NC State get quality looks and their bigs play like this, they can be competitive and really affect you on the defensive side.
Lane violation against the shooter, Okafor. Duke leaving some points at the free throw line, down 7 with 9:32 left. Leonard Freeman, sophomore for NC State, checks back into the game, the Washington, D.C. native for Godfrey. Trevor Lacey, if you've just joined us, 16 points, 6 of 10 shooting for NC State, 4 of 6 from deep to lead the Wolfpack. This is B.J. Anya. What a matchup against Okafor, going to the left hand inside.
Again, good execution there. Good screen by Lacey to create that post position. How about the steal there by Barber?
Sophomore dumps it inside. Martin to Freeman for the easy deuce. Here's Winslow, blocked by Anya. 4-on-1 break. Barber. Freeman, what a defensive play by Cook.
It was a good defensive play, but it was also really poor execution offensively there by NC State. They should have had an easy deuce on that one. But how about right in the middle here of a 10-1 run are the Wildcats. Really just doing everything defensively and taking advantage of that defense on the offensive side of the floor.
8:30 to play in regulation. You see the run from State, an 11-point game. Lacey pushes it to 13 points.
Coach K doesn't want to call that timeout, just waiting for that 8-minute TV timeout to try to settle his guys down and hoping that the senior, Quinn Cook, can come up with a big one, and he does there with that triple.
Quinn Cook, the D.C. native, their oldest, most experienced player. Boy, did they need that bucket in the worst way. He has 11.
A good decision to go with Winslow on Lacey, who's just too big and strong.
Lacey looking for more. Tipped up and in by Freeman. Lacey the steal. Stepping into the pass from Cook.
And right now, Duke far too predictable offensively. And NC State just playing with terrific confidence on both ends.
It is a party here in Raleigh. NC State looking to pull the upset. Martin is wide open. Timeout, Duke.
Welcome back, and we talked about how disjointed Duke was offensively. It's also happening on the defensive side of the floor. Keep an eye right here on Tyus Jones. Just completely loses sight of where he needs to be. Doesn't rotate back over to Martin. Easy deuce there against the Blue Devils. And that frustration, I should say, starting to show a little bit. And Mike Krzyzewski talked about this. Sometimes you lose sight of the fact this is a young team. Haven't played in a lot of hostile environments like this against a rival. And you know, a lot of times you're going to learn and get experience from these kinds of games. Let's see whether they win or lose, how they play this last 7 minutes.
You saw the number 16-4 run for NC State. Whistle blown, Winslow bumped as he came down the paint. And Duke right itself down 14 in Raleigh on CBS. Our game summary here in Raleigh, largest deficit for Duke all season long. Their 14-0 record that has been perfect on the line. Spiriditas and Greg Anthony, really uncharted territory. What's Mike Krzyzewski telling his guys in that huddle?
I think that's the first key. What he's talking about is really just trying to get his guys' confidence back. They've been rattled a little bit in this environment against the physicality of NC State. It starts there. And then from that point, you got to get back to being the aggressors offensively, attacking off the dribble, creating opportunities, and hopefully getting a few shots to fall, and then getting the tone set defensively. That's really where NC State, as good as they've been defensively, they've hurt them with their offensive execution. and ability to attack the rim.
1-1 for Justice Winslow, the freshman. Only a 63% free throw shooter. Misses the front end. Barber battling for the rebound. Last touched by Barber.
Great effort there. Winslow doesn't make the free throw, but does not give up on the play and secures another possession for the Blue Devils.
So, Greg, less than 24 hours after we saw the #1 team in the country, Kentucky, pushed to double overtime yesterday in College Station against A&M. Here the Duke Blue Devils now #2 in the country in all kinds of problems. Down 14 points. Winslow off target from deep. Rebound Lacey.
Well, that was, even though you don't score if you do, that's what you got to have. Some dribble penetration, some good spacing, and you're going to have to make some shots.
What a backdoor cut by Martin. Inside Anya, and he's headed to the free throw line.
What you called it. It was a great backdoor cut. Nice find there. And then a beautiful finish by Anya against the contact. You know, you heard the guys talking at halftime, Seth and Doug, about who's the best team. And one issue right now for Duke is they have to show the ability to win with their defense. And this is one of those games where offensively you struggle, but it's been their defense that's probably an even more of a disappointment because they haven't been able to get stops. They haven't been able to contain the paint. And NC State's confidence continues to rise with every possession.
Three-point play from the sophomore Anya. And suddenly it is a 17-point NC State lead. Anya with 8 of his 12 points since halftime. Whistle blown underneath against State. Double bonus for the Blue Devils with 6 minutes, 12 seconds left in the second half. Hard to believe it has been nearly 10 months since the last time Duke lost. It was in this building, round of 64, the NCAA tournament against Mercer. As Okafor, the freshman, readies at the line. Well, this week, Dave's all new with the Big Bang Theory, Simon Helberg, Amanda Peet, Anderson Cooper, and tomorrow Chef Gordon Ramsay, only CBS. Okafor quiets him down, but only for a second. 15 points for the freshman. Here's Freeman.
Good decision there by Freeman to bring it out. With a lead of this size, you want to allow the clock to be your friend.
Lacey, 18 points, and a timeout called by Mark Gottfried on that NC State sideline. 16-point game, under 6 left on CBS. Well, NC State's last victory over Duke came here 2 years ago. Richard Howell, monster game for the Wolfpack, 16 points at 18 boards as NC State pulled the upset over Duke by 8. And they are hoping for a similar end against Mike Krzyzewski's Blue Devils here this afternoon. Last one against a top 5 team coming in January of 2013. It was against Duke, that game that we just showed you.
And how about the stretch, though, that NC State's in the midst of? You just come off playing Virginia, Duke here today, and Lacey continues to make it rain.
It has been a shooting clinic by Lacey. Offensive foul against Matt Jones.
Talk about a guy having the ultimate green light and confidence. Puts him in the washing machine with that one.
Lacey, the Alabama transfer, 5th leading scorer in the ACC. One of the deadliest three-point shooters in the country, especially when he has gotten it going. And that has certainly been the case today. Lacey, 5 of 7 from deep.
And also what you've seen today, it's when you look at your team in the preseason, it has potential to say if we do X, Y, and Z, this is what we could be. I think today you're seeing just how good this NC State team can be when they get the kind of play they've gotten from their interior on both ends.
And Greg, I don't think anyone expected, as B.J. Anya has whistled for his 4th, I don't think anyone expected Duke to go undefeated. And you know, as painful as this is to watch, if in fact NC State wins the game, you almost like the fact that they have an experience like this as they become more battle tested as they get closer to March.
That's a great point, especially when you got guys, your best players are freshmen. You know, now you get an opportunity as a coach to really get their ear moving forward. You know, you now have something to show them to get them away from all the accolades and thinking maybe they're better than they are. It's about getting back in the gym and refocusing, because conference play does not get any easier moving forward.
We saw Mike Krzyzewski just 3 wins away from becoming the first ever Division I coach to 1,000 wins. And we had a chance to visit with him before the game. One of the things he said, you know, it used to be that your best players were juniors and seniors. Now your best guys are freshmen as they try to figure this thing out. Cook off the steal, gets inside for the nice little scoop, and suddenly you look up, it's a 15-point game.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of time. Oh, they got away there with an elbow.
Here's Barber. State trying to run some clock as we hit the 5-minute mark in the second half. Backdoor Freeman to Martin.
Good job by NC State. There is still a ton of time in this game.
Martin underneath, turned aside. What defense on the interior. Okafor setting that shot back.
How about this coming over weak side, and what it was, Martin lost control of that ball on the way up, and NC State fortunate to retain possession.
Ralston Turner back into the game, and this kid Cody Martin, that last sequence notwithstanding, has given them a little bit of juice off the bench.
The energy and activity. He also had 3 assists in that first half, so that tells you he's making good decisions, getting more and more comfortable as the season progresses.
But just to get back to that conversation as the officials talk to the table, you know, Krzyzewski talking about how he's had to change his approach now with a lot of the one-and-dones, his best players now being freshmen. You know, it used to be you had 2, 3, 4 years to teach a culture within a program. That's all gone out the window now with all these freshmen.
Yeah, it is. And also, I'm wondering what the officials are twofold. One, determining who the ball's off of, but also looking at that elbow.
That's right.
That was thrown against Winslow on that last possession there. You know, during a dead ball, you have the opportunity to go
back,
and
right.
reassess there. But to your point, it does. He talked about something that's so interesting. You now have to basically coach an entire career in one season, as opposed to having that maturation and development over the course of 4 years. And the elbow right here, you know what, though? I don't think he swung his arm. I don't think there's an issue with that. But they're going to make sure, to me, because it had his arm extended away from his body. I think that's where the concern comes when you get those elbows above the neck.
It was Leonard Freeman, the man who had the basketball for NC State.
And they got it right. They decided there's nothing there on that call. NC State will retain possession.
If you've just joined us, Duke, which is 2 made baskets over the last 7 minutes and 20 seconds. And right now, in desperation mode, down 15 points. Still time left, 4:49 remaining. Lacey trying to keep it inbound, keep possession. Wisely throws it off the leg of Cook.
How about the three-point shooting? Really the shooting overall, but 71% from beyond the arc are the Wolfpack here today. And a lot of that, I think, is because of that size at the guard position with Lacey and Ralston. Really, Jones and Cook haven't been able to disrupt their rhythm. And those guys have felt great confidence at attacking.
Shot clock winding down. Boy, fortunate for NC State. Barber lost the handle. And then the freshman Winslow unable to corral it, but the shot clock only at 3.
Yeah, fortunate also for Duke that Winslow wasn't charged with possession there, which was the right call. I don't think he had it, but it gives him an opportunity here with 3 seconds to still get a stop.
Lacey, the inbounder. Turner, off balance, corner 3. Tough shot. Here come the Blue Devils. 3-on-1. The senior Cook to the rack. Okafor putting it back. It's a 13-point game.
And with the impact of that 3-point shot, and now the turnovers, NC State not handling that pressure as well as they did over the course of the game.
So this young Duke team showing some grit and some resolve here. in hostile territory, just 25 minutes away from their own campus. 4 minutes left. Five to shoot, Freeman. And suddenly NC State looking rattled. Winslow head fake. Suleiman from deep. Jones well short. Okafor, and he'll have a chance at a three-point play.
And right now you can see what happens when you get that big lead. NC State now playing not to lose. They are not nearly as aggressive. And you can see the antenna has been raised for the Blue Devils. Okafor here on that offensive glass and the putback with a chance to convert a three-point play.
Another reminder coming up next. AFC Divisional Playoff in Denver. Andrew Luck and the Colts, Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos. It's coming up next on CBS. Meantime, here in Raleigh, it has been a wild afternoon. NC State just 2 minutes ago had a 19-point lead. But here come the Duke Blue Devils with their freshman star at the free throw line, Jahlil Okafor, with a chance to cut this deficit to 10.
And it's been their defense the last few minutes that's allowed them an opportunity here to maybe get back in this one and steal a victory, really, because NC State has clearly been the better team today, but right now not playing with that same confidence or assertiveness on the offensive side of the floor.
Okafor, the Chicago native. 21 points, 11 rebounds. But right now, Duke needing a stop. 8-0 run for the Blue Devils.
Matchup you want. You've got Lacey there with Cook on. At the end of this clock, you'd like to get the ball in his hand. Winslow picks up the foul.
That'll be number 4 on Justice Winslow. 1-1 for State. 3:20 to play. It'll be Barber at the line shooting 2. Barber, a 69% free throw shooter. Sophomore entered the season with a lot to prove. Arrived here with a lot of star power, a lot of potential. 2013 McDonald's All-American out of Newport News, Virginia. Misses the front end. And the door left ajar for Duke.
This is what you want for Duke. Attack against NC State right now, who is not playing with the same level of confidence.
Quinn Cook buries the corner 3. And just like that, here comes Duke, down 8, 11 straight points on CBS. 11-0 run for Duke in less than 2.5 minutes. What have they changed?
And you know what? The last 4 minutes or 3 minutes looked like the first 4 minutes of the game. They were able to get out and get active defensively, force turnovers, and they play fast. Duke's an excellent offensive team when they play with tempo. I think they got lulled into playing that 5-on-5 half-court style, and it allowed NC State's physicality to take over. Let's see if they can continue to speed North Carolina State up and force them into some poor decisions in the half court.
Lacey hounded. Looks like he comes up hobbled here, clutching his left calf. Don't want to speculate, but he is in a world of pain. I hope it's just a cramp. Doug, is they going to help him to the sideline?
And that's a huge loss. And you can see that calf just knotted up there.
Greg, you're right. You can almost see it.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Well, here's another look at Lacey as he comes up the floor. They will help him to the end of the bench.
Right there, you can see it. I think it is cramped. I mean, the way they're working at him on the sideline, they're icing, trying to relieve some of that pain, because I tell you, those are not fun to have. I don't know if you've ever had cramps,
Parker. Remember,
Right, this just adds another level of intrigue now. Lacey's been their best player, 21 points. Suddenly, you don't know about his status. Can he come back?
Yeah. And not just
NC State on the ropes.
And not just their best player, partner, also their best playmaker. I mean, he's the one guy that's consistently had the mismatch on the perimeter that has made the play down the stretch when they needed him. So to not have him out there puts a lot of pressure now on Barber and Turner.
Martin underneath. B.J. Anya trying to power up. And the officials say jump ball, and the arrow favors Duke. What a recovery underneath by the Blue Devils.
Yeah, but that's a mistake there. Anya, you got to go straight up with it. There was no need to really put the ball down. That extra dribble allows for the defense to recover there. And you can see Lacey in a lot of pain. Doubtful that they're going to be able to get him back. So defensively, NC State's going to have to step up.
Winslow's three rims out. Cook to Suleiman from three. No good. Battle for the loose ball. And Duke will have it with a fresh shot clock.
And a great job there by Okafor trying to keep that ball alive. And now Duke rushed a couple of those shots. There's a ton of time. This is a three-possession game. And look at Lacey. I tell you, he is in some severe pain. But if you're Duke, you don't have to rush right now. There's so much time left in this game, and you see how rattled offensively NC State is. More important that you get quality looks and rhythm here on this possession.
If you've just joined us, the Duke Blue Devils, second-ranked team in the country, 14-0. We're down 19 points at the 5:43 mark of the second half. Just over 3 minutes ago. An incredible turnaround to cut the deficit to 8. You see the run in just under 3 minutes. Suleiman to the red, blocked by Martin. Martin wisely pulls it back and runs that clock. Turner from deep. Oh, my goodness. Monstrous finish by Anya. This is Suleiman from deep. Underneath, Abu clears. Anya, meantime, still on the deck at the other end of the floor. And now Anya has to be helped to his feet.
He took a really hard fall on that, but how about watching just coming out of nowhere on the putback here. And then he just loses his balance right there, comes down hard. The big fella laboring a little bit here, but what a huge play there on that putback for the Wolfpack as they were really feeling here offensively.
You felt the building shake when Anya came down with that rebound. Justice Winslow, meantime, has just fouled out as the freshman sits. Krzyzewski trying to roll the dice, left the freshman in through much of the second half foul woes, and now 2 of NC State's regulars being worked on that bench. You saw Trevor Lacey, looked like a left calf that they're working on. And now B.J. Anya being looked at. Abu at the free throw line, 1-1 for State. Anya has scored 10 of his 14 points in the second half. Abu only a 50% free throw shooter. And a critical miss here. Rebound Okafor. Can Duke come all the way back? They're down 10. Jones. Contact before the shot. It's on Turner.
And that's almost as good as a basket. The fact you're going to get to the free throw line, you're in the double bonus, and if you convert, it allows you to extend that pressure. Remember, NC State down really their most reliable ball handler right now in Lacey.
Mike Krzyzewski's Blue Devils trying to exercise some demons that they have in this building. First trip here since the stunning round of 64 loss to Mercer last March. Right now down 9. Tyus Jones, the freshman, back in for the Blue Devils.
And partner, this is one reason why no matter what the score is, you have to continue to play the way that allowed you to get that lead. You saw where NC State just
got a little passive, started to try to play defensive on the offensive end and allowed Duke to kind of flip the switch there and become the aggressor and get back in this game.
Well, this is Turner, the guy who has to step up with Lacey on the bench. Abu sticks it back. Huge interior bucket for NC State.
And that's the one problem for Duke right now with the four-guard rotation and the extension of the pressure. As Matt Jones knocks down that triple, it does allow you an opportunity to attack the offensive glass, which is what NC State's gotten on their last two baskets.
A look at our game reset. Buck 37 to play. Duke is out of timeouts as their 14-0 record on the line here in Raleigh. Blue Devils are down 19 points at the 5:43 mark of the second half, then made a furious rally. Trevor Lacey still being worked on. NC State's best player, their lead scorer, what appeared to be a left calf injury. Also, B.J. Anya limping to the bench a moment ago. He's still off the floor. Full court pressure from the Blue Devils. Barber trying to weave his way through. Here he comes down the paint. Contact, and he will shoot two with 90 seconds left.
And not a bad play, but if you're Mark Godfrey, probably would have liked to have seen him dribble that out once he broke the pressure. Again, burned some of that clock. Now the pressure on him to knock down the free throws.
Greg, you've been there before with cramps. I mean, that looked like a real painful one for Lacey as they try to get him as hydrated as they can.
Yeah, it's one of those things, too. It's as painful an injury as Barber knocks down a free throw as you can have and yet still be able to come back and play potentially. You see he's finally kind of worked it out a little bit, but the question is now, can he come back out and perform at the level you were at? And Ananya checking back in. He's still laboring a little bit.
One more free throw for Barber. The sophomore, 69% free throw shooter. Well, his best game last season came against Duke in the ACC tournament. That 12-point game was so good all around that day. He's had a very good second half. Jones to the right, blocked by Anya. And then Cody Martin is fouled. And now they can smell it here in Raleigh.
How about 10 blocks on the day for NC State? And Matt Jones had an opportunity on that drive to kick it out to Suleiman for the triple, but decided to go all the way in and then challenge the shot blocking. And Anya said, not in my house.
Cody Martin, the freshman, will shoot two. North Carolina native, local kid. His twin brother, Caleb, cheering him on from the bench. 10-point game.
And we talked about it. Duke will learn from this experience and should get better. But also, how about the confidence this gives this young NC State team? You know, they already had 3 wins against the top 75 RPI teams, but nothing as significant as this performance here today on the national stage.
What a run it's been for Mark Godfrey. Has taken the Wolfpack to the tournament each of his first 3 years here. Okafor climbing the ladder. 23 for the freshman out of Chicago. Contact on the inbounds. Turner is fouled. NC State trying to hold off Duke with their best player and leading scorer Lacey on that bench.
And really just a complete performance. You know, everyone in that rotation made positive contributions for Mark Godfrey today. And you see Lacey as happy as anybody. He was huge for him, not just with that scoring, really, but able to stabilize them offensively when they had that stretch early on where they did not handle the pressure of Duke well in the half court.
Turner hits on the first, their lead back to 10. Well, this is the kind of win, signature win, that Mark Godfrey was hoping for this particular group. He came here 4 years ago, took over for Sidney Lowe, and really turned this program around. Won 24 games his first year. And you wonder what this kind of win does for the confidence of his team in the ACC. As Tyus Jones, quiet afternoon. Anya ahead for Lee. And there's the exclamation point. Officials say contact against Lee, wanted the offensive foul.
That was a great read, though, on the possession before by Anya on that offensive rebound. To have the awareness to get that ball out, knowing Duke was going to go for steals there, and Lee, the beneficiary, with the finish.
Told you about the schedule ahead for NC State. They'll face a third straight ranked opponent as North Carolina will come here on Wednesday night. What an atmosphere that'll be.
And how about North Carolina with the tremendous comeback yesterday against Louisville in Chapel Hill. Marcus Page able to get that game winner, and you wonder if that shot gets him going, gets him back to playing at that preseason first-team All-America level that many expected him to be at.
And here comes Lacey.
Not sure about why you need to bring him in at this point, but if anything, maybe just allow the crowd to acknowledge his performance today.
Well, the young man showing some grit on one of the biggest stages he has been on. The young man transferred from Alabama, forced to sit out last season. Fourth-year junior. And a smile on his face tells the story as Desmond Lee readies himself at the line.
And the other thing about Lacey, too, and Mark Godfrey talked about it, he's a really good leader, a great teammate. The guys kind of all migrate towards him, and that's something that with this young group you need. You need that veteran player that has the ability to really reach guys and get them to buy in, and I think we're starting to see the benefits of that with how they played here today.
Another reminder coming up next, Indianapolis and Denver, as they will kick around 4:40 Eastern time. It's coming up next right here on CBS. Turner the steal. And another dunk for Lee. They're going to blow the roof off this place.
And what's great about this, for a lot of those kids on that NC State team, this will be the biggest moment of their athletic careers. What a great opportunity and a great experience here against the #2 team in the country.
Party will continue into the late afternoon here in Raleigh, I'm sure.
I don't know, there's still 5 seconds left, and
Mike Krzyzewski, all class, going over to congratulate Mark Godfrey, his staff, and his players. Officials are saying, let's hold off on the love fest here for a moment with 5 seconds remaining. Hard not to root for a guy like Mark Godfrey, who just loves the fact that the spotlight is on some of these kids that have worked so hard. And this is what you work for, Greg. A long time ago, you were in the same position coming in to get that first signature win for a lot of these players. And this is it.
And that moment you saw there with Cat Barber, you know, he's a guy that's had his struggles at times, but Mark Godfrey, that's coaching right there. Finding the positives. He had some really solid plays over the course of this second half to really help settle that Wolfpack team down, and that's something that Mark Godfrey's hoping Cat Barber and the rest of these kids can build on moving forward.
For the Duke Blue Devils, their first loss in nearly 10 months. And ironically, that loss happened right here in this building. Final 5 seconds off the clock. And the Duke Blue Devils perfect no more. NC State pulls the upset here in Raleigh. the signature win that they coveted as they get their record to 12-5. An incredible scene as the fans storm the floor here at PNC Arena. "21 points for Trevor Lacey as he leads NC State to the upset win. Now for Greg Anthony, this is Spiro Ditas saying so long from Raleigh. Final score, NC State 87, Duke 75. Coming up next, the NFL Today, presented by Southwest Airlines, followed by the AFC Divisional Playoff between the Colts and the Denver Broncos. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports, home of the 2015 Men's National Championship. We'll send you to James Brown in New York after these messages.
Hello, everyone. I'm James Brown, and welcome to Road to the Final Four. A reminder still to come here on CBS, the AFC Divisional Round matchup between the Colts and the Broncos with a trip to the AFC Championship game on the line. And it all starts at 4 Eastern on a special playoff edition of the NFL Today. And in the game you just saw, an upset indeed. NC State handing Duke its first loss by 12, 87-75. I am joined by Seth Davis and Doug Gottlieb, and fellows, wow.
Great performance by North Carolina State. Very aggressive, took it right at Duke, and for the second straight time in a road conference game, Duke's defense was really bad. They gave up 46% to Wake Forest from the floor, but the Deacs couldn't make a shot. NC State shot 55%, 10 for 16 from 3. This was Duke's problem last year, Doug. It is now becoming a problem this year. They better get better, or this is going to keep happening.
Yeah, I'm not sure they can get bigger. You know, you have two small diminutive guards back there, and I guess the first question would be, what value did Tyus Jones bring to Duke? Here's as highly touted a guard as we have in college basketball as just a freshman, played extraordinarily well at Wisconsin in Duke's biggest win to date, but he simply didn't bring a lot of value to the floor for the Duke Blue Devils. And for NC State, the transfers, Trevor Lacey and Ralston Turner combined to go 9 for 14 from 3, and they did just enough defensively to slow down Jahlil Okafor. Yeah, obviously, Duke has a ton of work to do. This is just a conference road game, but this was maybe a trap game considering there's much more difficult challenges ahead.
So are you thinking going forward they'll be okay, though, with that guard?
I think they'll be okay. I just think at some point you start to realize maybe you're not as good as your press clippings when there have been guys laying in wait to see you on their basketball floor.
All right, let's head back out to Raleigh, where Greg Anthony caught up with Mark Gottfried.
Welcome back. Coach, you're starting to make a habit of this, pulling off these big wins against some of these powers around the country. I thought after about the first 4 or 5 minutes, you made the decision to go with Lacey at the point, and that settled your team down offensively and allowed your defense to really take control.
Well, I thought Trevor did a great job, and I just thought Cat wasn't playing as well as he could. Now, I thought Cat came back in the second half and really responded. He really did, so I got to give Cat credit. But I think the biggest thing for us, we got scoring from the inside, and that's what we haven't had a lot. And I think we guarded him pretty well. And, you know, with BJ in there protecting the rim, blocking some shots, it helped us, but it was a good defensive effort. And, boy, I'm really proud of our guys.
Yeah, you talked about that interior scoring. I thought your high-low action and your bigs interior passing really took advantage of the size you had when Duke decided to go small.
Well, and that's something we haven't had a lot of this year. So if we can get our big guys to keep scoring, go in there with our high posts and looking high-low and get some confidence. Those guys need to develop some confidence, too. And that'll really help our team. But I thought that was a big key today.
You know, coming into the season, I'm sure you looked at your team and you said potentially this is where we could be. How do you take that now moving forward in conference play? You still got some tough games coming up.
Well, this is a monster league, but it gives us confidence. And you have to have a belief in yourself. And when you beat good teams, obviously Duke is a great team, it gives us confidence. And now we can move forward. We've had some good moments. But with a young group, we got to figure out how to do it every night, consistently. But we're getting there.
All right, Coach, thanks a lot, and go enjoy this one.
Confidence is a delicate thing. It's hard to get. It's hard to get rid of. If NC State can play with this kind of confidence moving forward, this is the type of win that could catapult them to the NCAA tournament. You look at the AP Top 10 this week, Doug. 3 of these teams lost. We're down to 2 undefeated teams left in the country, Kentucky and Virginia. They should be the top 2. Louisville and Texas also lost yesterday. This is what happens in conference play. The rubber hits the road literally as teams have to play true road games. Teams are going to lose. This is how it works.
Confidence is the world's greatest performance enhancer, and I have found it is completely legal, and they cannot test for it. So NC State playing with confidence is a huge thing. This is conference road play. Everybody has you scouted. They know what you do best. You got incredible innovations in coaching and scouting to which they can take away what you do best and make you do something else. So this is not that obscene of a loss for Duke that it should cause you to have great concern. But we saw Kentucky survive Ole Miss, a very average Ole Miss team at home, survive a fairly average Texas A&M team that's kind of waiting on next year's recruiting class. And I think you put Virginia as the #1 team in the country based on merit. They beat Maryland at Maryland, beat VCU at VCU, beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame. I don't know if I don't think they'll be the best team at the end of the year, and I think Duke's still going to be very strong, but based on merit, Virginia is the best team or the most accomplished team to this point.
Well, if you look at Kentucky's full body of work, and obviously rankings in college basketball, you take them for what they are, but you look at Kentucky's full body of work, you know, to me as an AP voter, JB, if I've got a team #1, they're undefeated, I'm not going to drop them until they lose. I think the more important thing is the type of journey that these teams are on as they're moving to the NCAA tournament and how they get better. And again, I go back to Duke's defensive issues today and last season. This was supposed to be a better defensive team for Mike Krzyzewski. He made the switch today, by the way. He brought Emil Jefferson to the bench for the first time this season, started the sophomore Matt Jones, who's a three-point specialist. Jones is not a great perimeter defender. He's supposed to be a good three-point shooter, and he didn't bring that today like they had against Wisconsin. So can you beat good teams on the road when you're not playing well, like Kentucky did yesterday, like Virginia did at Miami? That's the differentiator.
That's, you know, Greg Anthony said it during the game, is that can Duke win a game with their defense? And to this point, the answer is no. And that's what you learn when you get to college basketball. You have to play harder and play better at both ends of the floor. This Duke team has to find themselves defensively. They don't climb into, you're going to play 2 small guards, that's fine. You got to climb into you and make the offense turn their backside to the glass. But they don't do that. So, you know, if Duke falls to 3, 4, 5, it's a road loss. It's not terrible. They have a tough road ahead. But to me, it's more about what their defensive identity is. Because when they won the national championship, they dialed it back and they were brutally physical. This team has to find that defensive identity.
The difference
if they want
is
to be an Indy.
they have the pieces to be a good defensive team. They haven't played good defense the last couple of weeks. But unlike his teams the last couple of years, they have the pieces in place. I'm sure he'll figure it out.
You guys have it parsed all nicely for sure. All right, folks, that'll just about wrap it up. Yeah, we'll hear a little noise from Bill Cowher with that victory. Hey, a reminder, NCAA basketball action continues Saturday with a doubleheader on CBS, beginning at 2 Eastern with a SEC clash between Florida and Georgia, followed by a Big Ten matchup, Michigan State at number 11, Maryland. Still to come here on CBS. That's Boomer Esiason. The AFC divisional round matchup between the Colts and the Broncos, a trip to the AFC Championship game on the line, and it all starts next with a special playoff edition of the NFL Today. I will see you back here in just a couple of moments with my football guys. Enjoy the afternoon.
We got football.
What happened here? What is going on?
We're going to take
what
the
are these
little
guys
tag.
stuff on? What's up, Tony?
Let's see, come on, time to go, time to go. We got football, let's go.